What's up, everybody? It's me, Strigi. I'm super excited to talk about the song that I recently did with Miyoki called Avalanche. I'm gonna walk through everything from the beginning of its conception to its end, my thought process behind that, and what the song means to me, which is essentially a love story. That's a scary topic. Sometimes that situation comes in your life at the most unexpected times in the way that an avalanche would. It takes a while for the right person to come along. Falling in love and being vulnerable again, there's a fierceness, a suddenness, and that's where all of the energy and the impact comes from the sudden avalanche. If you guys want to stick around for the walkthrough, check it out. Okay, so I actually found the very first iteration, like the very first version of Avalanche right after I did a vocal tuning session. So the only vocal I have in here is the lead. This is when I was trying to figure out the kind of like the sound palette that I wanted to do. I'm messing around with some like bells in here, a few synth layers, and really basic chord progression throughout. Not knowing anything, not knowing really what I wanted to do. This was kind of the beginning. So yeah, I was just trying to like get a feel. I wanted to mess around with the structure first, so this is pretty much it, but I eventually abandoned this idea altogether. Alright, so this is the second version. I think this was like a couple days later. I ended up keeping the chords. I added a lot more. Same atmosphere from before as well.
Gathering of turquoise and white. Dripping stalactites made and crystallized under a coating of ice. Slowly warming over.
So you can kind of hear I was trying to feel around for the whole pulse of everything. I tried to do this kind of more 4 on the floor type thing more earlier on in the song. Everything felt pushed, and I still wasn't capturing the sentiment in Miyoki's lyrics, and the whole bells idea was to try and do that. I still didn't know how atmospheric it was supposed to sound, and I felt like having a strong chord structure was like the way to go. As you'll hear in the third version, it's actually an entirely new idea. I finally started to move away and get a little bit closer to the final. Okay, so this is the project where I actually started to keep some of the stuff in the final, but it's quite different. I abandoned the chord progressions, started getting into more of the atmosphere, and I felt like this was a lot closer.
Glass tight, cavern of turquoise and white. Frozen made and crystallized under a coating of ice. Skin pure as moonlight. Searing kindness in your breast. Numb and snowbound. It's just too foreign to be. Slowly warming. Numb and snowbound. Slowly warming.
this is where I stopped, thought about it for like another week. You'll probably notice some stuff in here that stayed. So yeah, completely different drop. I actually like wrote out this whole drop, and I was trying to do the whole like swooning, romantic, almost slightly retro style. It just didn't feel like an Avalanche though. It didn't feel like the surprise attack of an Avalanche. And so I'll talk about that a little bit more in the final version, but some of the stuff that did stay, this big hit right here. Got the synths and the basses here and the effects. I guess I might as well just show all this. So I actually used that same hit just without the chords on the chorus part. The other thing that stayed was what you guys hear in the second build of the actual song, and that is from this group right here in the hook. So I will talk about this because this stayed in the final. So this is basically just a razor patch. Yeah, so it's just got clean sub underneath. And then reactor, razor. Yeah, these two, you got saw and then the pulse wave, and then it has the LFO controlling this low pass filter, just to give it a little bit of character if you turn it off. And then in the synths group, I have these Plex. They're just two saws with some dimension and delay. Yeah, same thing, filter opening up. On top of that, I have this sound from Pigments, Fly on a Stick preset. It's got vocoder on it. Let me turn this off so you can hear what it's like with that. Yeah. Got EQ. Vocoder really muffles it a lot. Delay. I just wanted to create this like really big long riser essentially, and then this comes in the second half. Pigments on the top, sampled version of the piano, a layer of Kontakt underneath, and I believe this is signal. Yep. And I'm using the Celeste and the harmonics. And then above all of that, I have this glimmer layer. Except this time it's from Super 8. This was kind of the mindset I had too. I wanted to do the retro thing. So, but yeah, altogether the synths sound. Yeah, so that became a pretty crucial part into the second build. I think this glass shards thing stayed. The sharks samples stayed as well. I believe I used my heavy mallet sample. Yeah, some of this stuff atmospherically was really nice. I liked the idea of the ice walls melting. I will show you how everything changed after about a week of processing this and being like, you know, I like it. It's kind of cool. It has a good flow, but it's just the sentiment and the lyrics is just not there. All right, the actual version. I kind of did what I did in the last version where I started out really atmospheric, except I really cut a lot back. I needed something that was a little bit more of like a glue to this part, and I wanted the plex to be a lot more delicate, and I actually found this virtual riot loop, this old virtual riot loop. So this is kind of where I started, actually. It undergirds the whole thing. Like, this was like a week after, and I kind of like wiped my brain clear. It needs to feel icier. It needs to feel kind of ancient in a way, if that makes sense. And coming into this ice cavern or this cave, and you're discovering things for the first time, there's something about the swarminess of the way that I processed this that I was really resonating with quite a bit. I actually used Morph EQ to kind of create this really interesting filter movement, and you can see this is moving automatically because I have the LFO mapped to the morph function of this. And then that's happening on top of some delay here in Replica, followed by a little bit of auto pan. Yeah, the rest is just EQ, compression, and then the filter is just slowly opening up. Very, very slowly opening up in the beginning here. Yeah. It's the glue underneath everything. It's just hovering. That's pretty much where I started. And I liked that. And I liked that it was somebody else's idea because it kind of took me out of it. But then I brought in some of the ideas that I had before. I just threw on a pad. You'll notice the chords are a lot more simple now. It's just going back and forth between the two, and it's sort of the romantic relationship between the Ice Maiden and the Adventurer. It's that interplay, and that's what I liked about sort of the alternating chord pattern. Because what I had before, it was moving too much, and it was a little bit too romantic. You know, we haven't gotten to that point in the song yet where everything's melted and the avalanche is sliding down the mountain. Like, we haven't gotten to that part yet, so we're still in the ice cave, and that's something that I wanted to bring out with this. And so this is just Cube. This is from, I believe, Lunacy Audio. It's a really cool sample-based plugin, and it uses like 3D space to kind of blend between all these different aspects of the sample. Some of it's automated in the presets, but you can do deep dive. You can go in here and like change the sample that's being generated and all that kind of fun stuff. So I think it's just, let's see, those two things and then some more atmospheric stuff in the effects section. I think this is from, I want to say, the Color Base pre-save bonus pack that Chime put out a while ago. Yeah, it's like one of these, I think. Yeah, that's just kind of like looping over and over, and it's got hybrid reverb on it. And then we got something from Slate Digital. And the important thing about all these atmospheres is I wanted them to be evolving. Oh yeah, I almost forgot this part. I added, Miyoki had these, she did these like background ad-libs, and I consolidated them all together and used them actually as like a pad layer. So we got adaptive verb. We're in G minor, I believe. I think I tuned this to G minor on, like, I just picked some keys out of here that I liked. That's the cool thing about adaptive verb, is being able to tune your reverbs. Let's see, what does it sound like without? Oh, that's right. I stretched it out, actually. This vocal part actually went on a different part of the song, but it just felt nice to introduce the song with her being like really obscured and pushed to the back, and, you know, you're discovering her for the first time. And then for the second half of this, I have these little, I re-explored that bells idea from before. Except it's a new idea, actually. It's different. I was trying to make a sort of a counter melody to this part. I wanted the bells to sound a little bit more synthesized and a little less natural. I'm still employing the whole pigments thing, this like marimba sample, dual sample engine preset. We have it grouped with another pigments, piano, the emotional piano preset, and then I believe this is a free lighter version of their bigger Zebra plugin. It has really cool presets in it. I really didn't overthink it beyond that. I just liked it as a layer. I have some more ROM on here, and I'm just automating the mix. Yep, and then I bring it back down for the verse. So you're gonna hear this instrument throughout the song. That kind of sets the entire tone for this whole thing. Let me just go into the verse here. Okay, so you probably remember the sharks sound. You know, the ice walls are melting. Little impacts, you know you're coming into the cave. This is actually a sigh that Miyoki did. I have this very subtle tops loop in the background. I just needed like a little bit of rhythmic drive here, but the rhythm is very, very soft. It's super simple. It's just like a little soft kick and a perk. Some AU5 samples in here. Yeah, and some Slate Digital. Some of these are my samples. I needed something that can drive the tempo basically. Before, the percussion was just too overpowering. Like if you remember from the previous versions, it didn't have that sparseness to it. So yeah. Some chime samples, just kind of messing around, going back and forth between the effects, trying to like keep that whole atmosphere together. The only thing new here in the synths, I believe, is another pad layer. Wavetable, actually. Yeah, pretty simple, just some triangle waves with a vocoder on it. Then I added a Kontakt layer. Okay, this is Ambition, so here's another pad layer. Yeah, very soft, playing the chords from before. Probably my favorite pad plugin. Yeah, that's pretty much it there. Yeah, no bass. I didn't even like put bass in here yet. It just, the more and more I kept adding to the song, like the more overpowering it was. And I couldn't get across the whole idea of dormancy and the one adventurer yet who has come along to melt her ice walls. So it's like everything I kept adding to it was just like too much, you know? That cave hadn't been explored yet. Okay, it looks like I did add another pluck here. Yeah, they're just kind of like little embellishments, basically. Delicate vibes. I think this is actually called something else now. It's very simple. Yeah, just a sine wave and a saw, heavily filtered. You know, your usual pluck, except it's got some distortion on it. Post-filter mode. Delay, reverb, kind of your typical stuff. I wanted to keep things evolving, so that was the idea behind this. Because if it's not obscure and it's just like up here, like it's too much. Not being hidden underneath her whispery vocals, like all of that is just gonna drown out what she's actually saying. And my goal here was to like really bring a lot of focus to the lyrics. So that's the idea behind it. It's very similar in verse 2.
God in your sharp light, waking from the coldest night. Mumbling and slight fright, something overly polite.
Pretty much the same thing. I think there's just like some hi-hat. I opened up the filters a little bit more on the effects now that we had gotten to that part in the song. But yeah, that's pretty much it for the verses. All right, pre-chorus. Now, like, everything's really starting to melt. She's getting into that main hook about being numb and snowbound. And then she has these reply vocals, you know, numb and snowbound, this feels too foreign to be leaning into that idea that like everything is melting, you know, the adventurer is here. It's actually the activation. Everything is gonna eventually trigger this avalanche, but you know, we still haven't gotten there yet, and so we're still raising that question really, 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 really high. I had to take the previous information and just start pumping it with a little bit of energy. I added this layer here, which is also a reply to her lyric about it being numb and snowbound. The main vocal and this.
Numb and snowbound, slowly warming over.
I actually liked that the music was kind of echoing what she was saying. The adventurer is now standing before her. She's saying she's numb and snowbound, and he kind of answers back, you know, that he sees that. And so I like that relationship. I believe I turned on one of these instruments here. Yeah, so the speaker goes from off to on. So I had pigments off at first. I added these chords. So here's the first time that we're getting some like substantial chords to come in. This is just Serum. This is about as basic as it can be, but the basicness of it all kind of feeds into what I mentioned before, you know, keeping it simple, kind of elevating them. It's literally just a filtered saw with chorus on it, playing the same two chords over and over again with the filter opening up, and then I introduce some bass. You know, sticking with Razor again. I'm using it in synced noise mode with a little bit of random phase, some low pass, and like comb peaking, just for like, I was trying to find like the right texture. It's opening up with the chords. So yeah, same patterns as before, except now the filters are all kind of opened up. Added another virtual ride sample here. I just like that. Okay, so I do have this transitional elements before the pre-chorus. It's from Bilegal Sounds left field bass samples. It's also before the verse as well. I just like the idea that things were kind of like sliding, like the mountain was sliding underneath you essentially, and everything's starting to warm up and loosen up. All right, chorus time. Alright, so it has the original part I mentioned from the previous version, this thing. So I actually consolidated this. I actually made it a sample. I liked it as a hit, where everything is like starting to melt away like really quickly. It's got the sharks thing in here again. This is where the energy really starts to build up, and I wanted like this entire build section to feel like the entire mountain was like sliding at once. So if you listen to the effects all together, like it's just a bunch of like ice, and everything is just like all sliding all at once. That was the idea behind it. I knew that when I got to the drop, I wanted the drop to feel like it really, really was sudden. And this is where the biggest difference in the dynamic between kind of the more atmospheric calm stuff interacts with the power of the Avalanche. As you can see in the synth section, it's only this one sequence that I bounced out from the previous session. And then I just added some basses from the drop in kind of like a pre-build-up section. It's such a good way of introducing your drop, is just take elements from the drop, use them in the build, use some heavy bandpass filtering on there and slice it up a little bit, and just to kind of tease the drop a little bit, but making things interesting and sudden, and like the mountains kind of sliding away. It's using what's already there and activating it essentially. The rest of the power of this is probably, I would say, in the singing. I'll play it out to the drop here. Yeah. Okay, so for this, the idea behind it was that when the Avalanche actually starts right on the downbeat, I wanted it to be really explosive. Before, I was trying to like slide into the drop and do all this interesting stuff, but nothing felt as impactful. And so I'm actually doing some stuff in the vocals to achieve this. I'm actually using Dimension Expander on the entire box group here. Kind of like widens it up, and then I heavily filter it for, I believe it's the first bass. Kind of like the snow is like overwhelming you. I guess what was going through my mind was that like when an avalanche is happening all around you, it's really overwhelming you, and there's parts of it that are like folding on top of you, and there's things happening, and so there's tons of filter movement. I mean, there's filter movement in these chords and these leads and stuff. Yeah, a lot of this is lead driven and sample driven, I believe. So yeah, so when I started this, I actually I don't think I had any of the leads, any of the like shimmery, glassy stuff. Very first thing I had was in the bass, but I will talk about some sampling stuff I did here. So this sound, yeah, this is just a piece of a longer file. I believe the very first version is a sample from the Sennheiser pack on Splice. Resampled it in Morph, sampled it again, hybrid reverb. I believe I was messing around with convolution. Yeah, look, there's an ASAR up there. And then I resampled it again, used the spectral resonator, a really like interesting belly kind of tone. It was nice as a layer, and I call these layers pockets. That's just kind of like the term that I give them, because I pocket them in between the elements in the drop. Some chime samples, just like reversing. Same thing with ASAR. This is from my sample pack. Yeah, little pockets. I'm just like manipulating the audio quite a bit using flanger, frequency shifting, and then I got some delay, filtering. Some more of it up here. Yeah, same thing. Just kind of regurgitating a lot of that stuff and like placing it where I want. The rest is the stuff I added after. The same instruments from before, just using them differently. Yeah, opening up filters, letting things delay out only on certain parts. Yeah, a lot of this stuff is just like done manually because I like to go measure by measure. All right, so for the basses. The very first sound is this stab. Yep, and this is just Serum. Yes, I made this in Serum. It's called Hyper Scooter. It's basically just a resampled wavetable, detune, unison on it, some heavy filtering. I have these timbre knobs here. I call them timbre, but it's really just controlling wavetable and the warp. Yeah, and you can see I kind of automated those at different parts. And then I have asymmetry and super phaser. And then I have drift later on. I'm using it right here. So yeah, the rest of this patch is just some of the Serum effects. Yeah, I just liked how mean it sounded. It felt like it was really thick, and that immediate growl was nice having that. We got some more of the like left field bass stuff from before. This is a bass from my song Journey. That sounds like this. You can hear that in Journey. Just kind of using it here with U Big G. Yeah, transposing all the grains down. And I believe I'm also transposing the clip a little bit. You can make really interesting kind of squirrely pitch drop effects with that. A chime bass. I liked it right on the snare, I believe it was. Yeah, and then we got this like zipper thing. Okay, this is actually a patch I made in Wavetable using one of these noise tables. Yeah, sounds kind of cool with the convolution here. Turn off the convolution. Let's actually turn off all of this stuff. And I'm warping it. You add the amp back into the mix. A top sub crossover. I think this is just because I wanted some tonality to it, so I used convolution, M-morph, and the fancy spectral compression mode that it has to bring out those tones a little bit more. And then I'm just kind of re-distorting it again with amp. And then I resampled that, did some more stuff with it. I added corpus. I just like the zipperiness to it. And then here's like sort of the first chord fill. This is actually a new bass. So this is 2 layers actually. All right, so the main one is Serum. I believe this is a resampled sync saw with like a bunch of phase rotation. And then a bandpass filter, not that many effects here. I wanted the attack of it to be a little more punchy. So this is just operator with a little bit of frequency modulation going on here in these oscillators, just for the start of it. So all together, pretty much playing the same thing as the chords are playing here. Okay, this thing is the same stab from before, kind of like messing around with the wavetable and the warp, except it's got a little bit of filter movement going on now. And then I added this layer, Mr. Cool Tricks. We got this guy. This is a Nasco bass. I liked it as a different like rhythmic element. We have this thing. This is taken from this. It's actually taken from that clip. That clip right there. I resampled it and brought it into here. And then I made a bass out of it. Kind of rhythmically play with it the way that I want to. And then I layered it with this triangle frequency modulated thing. Oh yeah, that's probably just to give it a little bit more warmth, because by itself, yeah, I liked it together. So yeah, I just created rhythms, same thing with the bass from before. And then it goes into the turnaround section. Yeah, so this has in it the melody from before, like the Numb and Snowbound thing, except I'm like making it an actual part, that interplay relationship between the two characters. And so the call and response thing was something I was trying to do in just the music alone. So here it's got the good old, classic Strigi ARP stuff going on here. I had to get that in the song. It's the same chords from before. And then the rhythm section changed because now it has the kick and snare alternate. I just felt like it was nice to have that different variety. Instead of this. It set this part of the track apart from the rest of the song. Kind of did like a little trap beat with this reverse snare. I think this is from before too, yeah. It was just nice. It's kind of like the song is singing back to her in a way after this big first Avalanche that we just had. I felt like I just kept needing to do more with the rhythm, but like the more and more rhythm I added, the weirder it got. And so I found myself revisiting, cutting, making everything sparse and making everything feel cold and icy again. I kind of mentioned that the verse was the same. Okay, so this is the first part where we start to do the older idea. This is the part in the song where everything really changes, and I remembered that I originally had wanted that. I wanted the energy in the second half to feel like this evolved version from the first half, and so even though it still has the surprise of the Avalanche, now I kind of wanted it to feel, I guess, like the aftershock or the evolved version of the Avalanche. And maybe now the Ice Maiden she's really warmed up, and her character has evolved. Her and the adventurer together, they're kind of in a dance now. That's the idea behind the pulse-esque movement in this second pre-chorus into the chorus. And you'll notice in the chorus too, I also let the vocals really, really shine in this second chorus and all the way up into the build. All right, before I go too far. So, like I mentioned before, it has that whole entire section from the previous session. I think I'm even playing this on one layer. Yeah, I don't have anything in my bass section. I actually just let this play out in my entire synth group, and then at the very end there's some reverb. Yeah, just for like the fake out part. But I love this so much that like it carried so much weight to it. It was really nice, and I knew that there was going to be a lot of vocal content on top of this. That's literally it. It's just that entire stem, just some like impact stuff in the effects section here. And that's it. And then for the second half, starts the actual build. Start to do more of the pulsy type drums. That soft kick from before. This is also from the previous session. I must have missed that. This was a snare roll that I built. It's just penciling in snare and then just mapping the transpose of the snare sample to like a macro. Let's see. And then I layered it with this Fab Kit thing. I think this is from Splice. And then 85s. This is from Was It You? I just love some of the samples from that. It was perfect. Yeah, the melody from before. Just playing that melody over and over and over again, really get it in your head. I'm also doing this because in the actual drop, I peel away from the main like Numb and Snowbound hook melody and do something that really surprises everybody. I find with melodic drops, like it's kind of risky, but it's nice for a song like this. Like 134 isn't quite up there with the more upbeat drum step type stuff, and so it almost kind of has this like halftime appeal to it, even though it's more in like the trance realm. And so I wanted to capitalize on that and do something that kind of subverted expectations within this like rhythmic scheme, I guess is the best way that I can kind of define all of that. All right, so here's the chorus build into drop 2. this first part, this is where we subvert expectations, right? The part where she's really belting out, I wanted to make it seem like she was kind of at the top of the mountain, letting her voice ring out over the drop. Right? Just a little bit of reverb actually. And then this is from the 4-chord hit from the previous session that I also used at the start of the first chorus. Same thing from before. It's got a little bit of filtering going on. It was just a nice like layer to the hit, and then it's layered with these leads and chords here. So same instruments from before, if you guys remember these leads. And this is where I really took advantage of the whole like bell thing that I was trying to do from like the very start, except I'm really playing these bells a lot, and then added some chords underneath. I did add a layer. Yeah, this is just more wavetable. Triangle wave, very simple. Oh yes, that's right. I detuned these slightly. So this is detuned by like 10 cents. This is detuned by 10 cents in the other direction, and they're just saws. Yeah, just a nice like layer all together. A little bit of reverb. That's pretty much it. The chords from before, if you guys remember, the very simple saw chords. But all of this together. Yeah, the rest is just like filtering and some like MIDI movement in here, stuff like this. And how I'm pretty much doing this is just creating, I believe this is the 4-chord, right? Sometimes starting the drop on the 4-chord gives you somewhere to go after that. And I felt like it was a lot more epic to hit the 4 and then go eventually. And then eventually make my way to the 6-chord here. In this case, well, I guess if we're in G minor, it'd be the 1, right? But you guys know what I mean. Yeah, same stuff as before, just kind of like reusing it. I did add this guy. This is a bass stab I made from my song called Love. Lots of drum changes though. This tom right here. Yeah, I just let it ring out a little bit here. Okay, here's the second half. Now you hear the melody from before the main melody. That part. This thing. So I really wanted the Avalanche to be rolling down the mountain at this point. This is the same bass from before, and I believe it's just cycling octaves here. Yeah, that's all it's doing. I'm filtering it in between these phrases here, and then I'm finally introducing into serum effects. Yeah, you can see the mix going up here. And then all together. I just like, this was the whole like energizing part of it, and then I took that same exact rhythm and used it in the chords. So this part was really fun because by the time I had gotten to the end of the song, I was like, okay, how can I kind of like symbolically represent that things have kind of changed now, that there's been this romance and they have fallen down the mountain, so to speak, you know, or they've at least caused an avalanche. And I was like, oh, well, how about descending arps? That's kind of cool. And I actually took this part. I believe I used Ableton's reverse or invert function. It's one of those. And then I duplicated the notes like up an octave and started messing with harmonies. And then I actually was kind of just impromptu replicating these, like something like that. Okay, there's something else going on here though. On my synth group, I have some effects here. So I have some more of the sine vibes drift here, moving the frequency band on this phaser using LFO, and then some filter movement here with the auto filter. And there's reverb at the end of it here. So this is how I'll often like build my atmospheres and stuff like that, is I'll just like keep the same pattern and then just start messing with the reverbs and stuff like that. It was a nice way to have the descending arps be a different evolved form of the melodies from before. Yeah, so this part was actually a lot longer of an idea in the song. I wasn't sure how I was gonna fit this part into the song. It was a very beautiful part that she wrote. Yeah, that's right. Weaving the air with silence, airborne in our existence. I've been so breathless, and I tried doing a lot bigger sections with it, but it didn't really fit, especially because it is a new idea. It's something I still wanted to include, but it was nice kind of stamping like the entire relationship with this, that they were actually like weaving together. And that's right. And I have these these big old Fat Daddy drums. Yeah, this is just a resample of a Perk X layer. Oh, it's not Perk X, it's actually from Damage. Okay. It's the Perk Studio Armageddon ensemble set. Just those two hits. I need some really heavy toms in the back. Something that could kind of like offset all of the more synthesized drums. And then lots of reverb on the snare. The reverb decay time to 6 seconds. More tom fills. Yeah. Reverse cymbal crash into the outro. Oh yeah, that's right. I wanted to have an actual sound of an avalanche, and Kashmir actually has. I believe this is reversed. Yeah, just kind of like this like rocky sound. Thinking about how the snow can bury you again, having her almost return back to the state of being frozen in the ice again, but maybe now she's frozen in the ice with her lover or something like that. I was kind of messing around with that idea. So yeah, now I'm just like low passing the heck out of everything pretty much. The glass from before. Some more of the avalanche debris here. I believe this sample's from Motion Pulse by Video Copilot. Yeah, that's pretty much it. That's the whole thing. Well, hope you guys enjoyed that. I'm definitely down to answer like any more questions on the production front, like anything you guys want to know. I had a lot of fun with Miyoki on this. We went back and forth on just like the whole feeling behind this and some notes that even she had for it, and ended up turning out really great. So I'm definitely interested in doing more tracks like this in the future. And thanks everybody for sticking along the ride.